Alright, here's a warning for you. There's a warning. This is about some subject material that may be disturbing to some folks, etc., etc. Liability don't fall on me. Alright, this is going to be a story time video, so we're back, and I'm going to tell you about something that happened in this vicinity right here. This is we'll just say this is in my neck of the woods, okay? And so it happened in and around this vicinity here, okay? At this intersection on the highway, what we're talking about. This whole thing is going to be, I'm going to leave a description, or excuse me, a link to the description of the events that happened here in the video comments section. Real quick, I want to say, you know, what we're talking about is a person killed themselves over there on the side of the highway here. This is in reference to a cold case in Oklahoma where a woman, Julie Mitchell, was murdered, okay? And this also resulted in Julie Mitchell's husband, which I didn't memorize. He was not a suspect in her murder, but it did lead to him having prison time because he had an illegal gambling operation. He spent a couple years in prison. And a person that was a person of interest to this case, I think even at that time, Michael Thomas was a person of interest in that case. It was a cold case, and what had happened was he was on a Zoom call with, again, it'll be in the description here. I only memorized so much of it. But he was on a Zoom call regarding that murder, as he was a person of interest. And what happened, he must have had some level of guilt. We'll never know. But he killed himself. And he put a gun up to his head and shot himself in the head, which is something that I don't take lightly sharing with anybody, but that is what it is. As a distraction here, we're on the 2012 S model with stroker big bore, and I'm running the big wheels on here, and you may even hear a little bit of the whine of the tires. We're kind of breaking them in. But back to the story, you know, other than that being in my neck of the woods, here's another thing that goes along with this story. I was having some trouble with the bike, and this is another story, and I ended up on the side of the road in my area. Broke down, and I needed a ride back to my house to be able to get my truck to load up the bike to diagnose the problem. And my friend Chuck asked me about this event that had taken place. And to the day in which it happened, it was a week ago to the day in which this was Saturday. So last Saturday, the week before Saturday, was when this happened. I think that would have been May 31st. I think that's what it was. And then it was a week later when we were talking about this. He said, "Hey, did you hear about that happen?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard about that." And where this lays a little closer to home to me is that my friend Chuck, he was over there driving when that guy decided to do this. He was going down the road with his wife, and they were actually at the point where that man shot himself in the head. And when he was driving by and shot, they heard the shot, and something, he's not really sure yet, he was describing, went across his windshield. Probably parts of the last thought in that man's head. You know, I don't want to talk funny about it, but some sort of debris from that guy shooting himself went across his windshield, and I asked him if he was okay about it, and he said, yeah, I've been around that before. The man's an older gentleman with a lot of experience, and he was mainly concerned about his wife, and he got in a way to shield his wife from seeing all the after effects of that. And we're not going to go into any detail of what it looks like when someone does that, but it's not pretty. And so they called the authorities, and other people in that area called the authorities, and they handled it in the professional manner in which they do. So I want to thank Annette Lawless for sharing this story on whatever feed, and then one of my friends of mine, a very, very, very close person to me, shared this story with me. And so I want to say thank you to them for sharing that. And Annette Lawless is a person that was let go from a local news station for a reason which I don't even know. She's a very good reporter, and I look forward to seeing her back on air with somebody soon. Very kind-hearted woman, and very, very experienced person in journalism. So, we really appreciate her, and I appreciate my close person that shared that with me. And my heart goes out to anybody affected by this. And, I think it's just to finish off this subject. There's people in which that do things. I don't hate people. I hate the things in which people do. I hate people that kill other people, rape or molest other people, thieves, etc., murders. I don't like it when people do that, and I think they should answer for their crimes. And we need to come down on them very hard and just mercilessly. That way, less people will be apt to do it. And apparently this guy knew something about what happened to this woman, and I hope that he pays his dividends to our Maker. But I have no sympathy for any murderer, thief, rapist, child molester, etc., and no one will lose any sleep over their demise. So I think we should come down harder on them, and there should be some vigilante justice with those people too. So we say thank you to the people that have shared this story. Sympathy for the people in which were affected by this story, even though it was 15 years ago. Because lives are changed, and I'm sure lives are changed as a result of that guy taking that way out. So, those of you who do not know, I think I've shared something to the effect. My neighbor unalived herself about 5 years ago, just before things started getting really weird with the COVID deal. And anytime some of that stuff happens, it just thinking about it affects me some kind of way. So I really hate it, and I wish the deceased had owned up to whatever it is that he was in interest of, or confessed to his crime and served the time for it, or whatever punishment necessary, rather than doing that, or whatever means of justice that is legal. So that being said, I don't have anything more to say about it. As we wrap up this video, I do want to share a few things. We had an issue with the WR450. That was the bike in why I needed to get a ride for. I was dealing with an issue that we had with the stator and flywheel. We had an issue with the starter clutch. coming into, you know, the bolts backed out on it, ended up coming into contact with the stator, and you know how that goes. So I agreed to get the bike and install the replacement rectifier and stator and flywheel, that because the flywheel was damaged and all those things. And so there was an issue with how its charging was, since it was an aftermarket one, high output, and we just ended up having an issue. I'm not going to go into that, but it ended up causing the bike to die on me. So long story short, you know, I got that out of my life, and I also ended up getting some parts in for the XR650L that we did the live on. So I'm going to start putting that Humpty Dumpty back together again, tearing it down the rest of the way by removing the bearings that go along with it. So we've been making some progress. I've got something else that I'm doing tonight. Apparently 13,000 miles was all the miles that the countershaft seal for the stroker big bore on the doozy could take. So we ended up, I'm going to replace that tonight because it started leaking on me. So I've got that to do, and then I'm going to be working on the XR, hopefully get that back together. I got a replacement crankshaft for it, and I'm hoping to get that thing back going within this month. You know, that might be a tall order, I'm not sure, but we have a few things in the works for that. So I'm looking forward to getting that done. I'm looking forward to a good chest day. Today, and just as a change up of things, I'm not doing any wheelies just due to the subject matter on this video, so I wanted to get that out of the way. I'm not going to do any wheelies this time, and this isn't a happy subject, and wheelies are a happy thing. I may record some after workout session is over. That might be the way to handle this. Excuse me. Yeah, just go ahead and take up the whole lane. That's fine. But we might record a little bit afterwards, and we might do some wheelies then. But I think that's all I have to share. I'm going to do a quick walk around. Yeah, I remember I don't have to talk so loud anymore because the mic's so good. But yeah, we got the Pirelli M21 in the front. Got the PBR can cover for the shock reservoir, and we have the D606 on the rear. Look at that Barker's exhaust. Look at it, it's barking. But yeah, that's the S model. Oh, nice rack. Thanks for watching.